Wyoming is a one-class state, and if you think you're better than someone else, they will tell you to your face that you're wrong. My mother, Miriam Jenkins Barlow, would have argued this point with you because, to the extent that there is aristocracy in that part of the world, she was kind of like Wyoming royalty. Her great-uncle was a cattle baron named Amos Smith, who was the first human being to spend a winter in the high reaches of the upper Green River Basin. Not even the Indians had ever tried to do that, but Amos had taken a bunch of cattle in there to graze because the grass was unbelievable. It started to snow early, and he got trapped. I imagine it was a lot like what Hugh Glass, who was my hero when I was about 7 years old, went through in The Revenant with deep snow and lots of wind, but somehow he managed to get through it. Having done that, Uncle Amos decided that the upper Green River Basin, which was as fair as the garden of the Lord and full of tall green grass for 2 or 3 months a year, would be wonderful for his cattle, because he could grow hay there and keep cattle year-round. These were pioneering ideas, and so he hired a bunch of people to homestead for him on 160 acres of sagebrush with barely any water and nothing that you could raise because the entire growing season was about 18 minutes long. I have actually seen it snow there on the 4th of July. There's a joke in Pinedale about a stranger who comes to town shivering and asks one of the locals, "What do you people do around here in the summer?" And the local guy says, "Well, if it falls on a Sunday, we usually have a picnic." Uncle Amos never had any children, but he did have 3 nieces who were from Burlington Junction, Missouri, and one of them, Eva, married my grandfather, Perry Wilson Jenkins, who was an astronomer and a mathematician and an incredible human being, if not also terribly likable. Known to one and all as P.W., he had been born in Mount Carmel, Indiana in 1867. His grandfather had served as an army officer during the American Revolution, and his father had fought in the Civil War. P.W. grew up on the family farm in Butler County, Ohio, and then attended Miami University in Oxford, where he was a member of Phi Beta Kappa and played quarterback on the football team. P.W. went on to acquire multiple master's degrees in mathematics and geodesic engineering. By the time he was 29 years old, P.W. became the youngest college president in the United States at Amity College in Iowa. While serving as a fellow at the University of Chicago in 1905, he was diagnosed with tuberculosis of the kidney, known back then as consumption. The doctor who removed one of P.W.'s kidneys didn't even bother to send him the bill because he figured the other kidney would kill P.W. before he could ever pay it. P.W. was about 38 years old when he came out west with Eva because he thought the mountain air might be good for him. He came with the expectation of dying quickly, but he didn't. Instead, he became quite a big deal. First, he went to a sanatorium in Colorado Springs and then to Wyoming, where he spent a couple of years working for Uncle Amos on his Mule Shoe Ranch, which turned out to be extremely salutary for him. When it looked like P.W. was going to live after all, Uncle Amos said, "Why don't you get a place of your own?" He grub-staked him a bit, and then P.W. bought a little homestead called the Westfall Place that was north of Cora. It was soon called the Bar Cross Ranch. As a mathematician, P.W. had come up with a one-iron brand that was also a mathematical symbol and easy to apply. He then bought the Wright Place, the Johnson Place, and the Mershon Place, and started to accumulate a lot of adjacent land in the county. When Uncle Amos died, he left all of his property to P.W.'s wife, Eva, and her 2 sisters. Her sisters were both farm girls back in Missouri, and they immediately sold their shares to P.W. Pretty soon, he had bought himself a drugstore and a grocery as well as a stake in the State Bank of Big Piney, Wyoming. He also became a 32nd-degree Scottish Rite Mason and founded the Franklin Lodge in Pinedale. In 1919, P.W. was elected to the first of his 5 terms in the Wyoming State House of Representatives, where he became Speaker pro tem before going on to serve 2 terms in the state Senate and as president. Because he didn't like to ride all the way over to Lander, the Fremont County seat, and because the line between it and Lincoln County ran right through the middle of his house, P.W. introduced the bill in the Wyoming State House of Representatives that led to the creation of Sublette County in 1923. To the best of my knowledge, Sublette County, which comprises about 5,000 square miles of land, is the only political jurisdiction that is based almost entirely on its watershed. P.W. did put the tiny town of Bondurant in it, but that was only so he could get enough votes from there to make Pinedale the county seat in a hotly contested election that was decided by just 6 votes. P.W. named the county after William Sublette, a well-known mountain man who, along with his 4 brothers, trapped for the Rocky Mountain Fur Company. In the early 19th century, people would come into Wyoming through South Pass, the only wagon route through the Rocky Mountains. In 1826, William Sublette blazed a shortcut between South Pass and the Bear River that became known as Sublette's Cutoff. P.W. also tried running for governor twice, but that never worked out for him. The fact that he was quite unlikable had a lot to do with it. He was already in his mid-80s when I was a kid, but my mother always felt that it was really important for me to learn whatever I could from him. So I would go out with him on long drives that let me see huge swaths of Sublette County. From the passenger seat, I watched that old man take his 1954 Chevy Bel Air into places that I subsequently could not get to in a 4-wheel drive.